Alright guys, good morning. It's Friday, 10/28, October 28th. Get some coffee in me and we'll wait for a few people to show up. High encoding, eat shit. Let's see, can we close any of this crap? Yes, we can close that one. Alright. So we're all ready to go. We'll start here in a minute. We're going to be talking money management, how to determine what a pip is worth. What a pip is worth in accordance with your lot size. And we're also going to go over a little bit of basic coding because I'm going to be giving y'all a script, not an indicator. Since the orders indicator is no longer free for people that are coming in, they can't use it anymore, and I'm guessing eventually this one's just going to quit working. We have a script we will use to plot trades on a chart. Wonderful, I know. Alright, so let me put out a couple websites first. I'll put them in the YouTube chat. The first one's going to be there. And the second one will be here. I'm giving you a couple of them just so you can follow along. Oops. Those are the two tools we're going to be using mostly today. And then, like I said, the last thing we're going to do is just a little bit of basic coding. All I'm going to be doing is teaching you how to edit that script so that it can do what you want without you having to make the changes every time. I was going to do it for you, but I think it'd be kind of cool to just teach it since it is relatively simple to do. If we have questions during any of this, please stop me. I'm going to clean my glasses real quick. Please stop me if you have questions during any portion of this. It is very important, especially for you guys doing the news trading course, because this is going to allow you to then start using percentages of your account. Right now, I never showed you how to turn it on, so even if you did turn it on, it still didn't work. I showed it briefly yesterday or the day before in the video how that it doesn't work unless you have it completely set up. So we're going to be going through that. Sorry, I'm sprayed my glasses and I'm cleaning them off. So the first thing we're going to do, and I guess we'll jump to here because this is nice and big. This is what pair? Let's work with Euro. And let's move this like this. And where is live dashboard? So I guess you can see what the live dashboard looks like. We'll correct this here in a second. Alright. So the first thing we're going to be looking at, if we go to baby pips, or let's just go over here. We're going to use the fxpro.co.uk one, because it asks a pair. So here's Euro USD, deposit, trade size in units. So let's say I'm sitting at 0.20, calculate. So pip is worth basically 2 cents, I guess you could say. Each pip, not... Alternatively, let's just use the baby pips one. I like it better. Okay, so we're going to go to pip value. So it's Euro USD, position size. We'll do, let's see, we'll do 0.2 again, 0.20. Is that a comma I put in there? I think it is. The ask price is 1.09179. Yeah, if I turn numbers lock on, this would work better. 1.09181 USD. Calculate. This isn't working out quite what I wanted it to, but okay, let's come back to that. Let's do the risk reward calculator. No, position size. I'm all over the place. Sorry, guys. Okay, so this is the one we're going to use a lot. Once you go through this, guys, let's take a look. Here, I can't see chat. Let me move this over here. Okay, so once we go through this, you're going to kind of get the feel for it, and you, in my opinion, I kind of wing it. I do have this little indicator here, which I'm going to give you, that will, how would you say, it will kind of give you a feel for 2% risk in your lot size. So let's say my account balance is 1842.88. My risk percentage is 2%, and we'll see if this comes out to the loss. And we're going to be using, on news, the maximum I want to lose is 20 pips. And we can calculate. Oh, it's risk percentage 2. Jesus Christ. Okay, so it came up with about the same thing. See, it says 0.3736 mini lots 1, and it tells me what kind of lots I would want to place. And the amount that I'm going to risk is $36.857 at a 20 pip stop loss. Now this is a 10 pip stop loss, and this is a 20 because we're talking a little bit about news. You put in your stop loss here, so if I change it to 10, it comes about right. Now this is my scalping where I use a 10 pip stop loss. For news, worst case scenario, and this is everything goes batshit horribly wrong, is a 20 pip stop loss. Now, if you trade news, let's talk. We're going to talk NFP. This is where it comes in. If we use a 20 pip stop loss, there's a chance with news, especially on the NFP, that we could get whacked on that. So we are going to talk about some situations where this would increase. But this is also why on NFP, I only trade 1%, and I use sometimes a 50, but it balances out, let's put it that way. Alright, so basically this indicator here, I just want to see where these numbers are coming from. I use this indicator to tell me, but this is how they're figured out. It's nothing crazy, but it's just something you should know where this number comes from. I will be linking this indicator, so let's take a look at the indicator. And you actually, if you're in the news course, you don't need it because the EA is going to take care of it for you, but still it's nice to know what size you're going to be trading, because we're going to look at that next too. So what I'm using is lot size calculator, and this is right here. And it's really a simple one. You just put in stop loss and risk percentage. And so if I do stop loss of 20, risk percent 2, it adjusts it. My trade size goes down to 0.18. Okay, so why is this important? Because the 0.18 is kind of what we're going to be looking at. So let's see if it's going to work. This thing doesn't seem to like 0.0915. Ugh, position size. Yeah, I am not liking the way that works. There's an indie that I guess I'll have to get for it to show you all how it actually works. Okay, so basically what I'm trying to show here is we need to be aware of where this number comes from. The bigger your stop loss is, the smaller your trade size is because of your risk percentage. Now and I'm going to cover normal Forex trading and news trading real quick. We're going to start off with the normal one. So how do I determine then? So let's go back to my normal setup. Indicators list and lot size. Let's put it back at 10 pips, and this will cover the scalping portion of it. And then we'll talk a little bit about, so 0.37. Let's go 3.5 to round it. So let's say I'm going to take a trade, and I'm going to take a sell, right? So I take a sell. This is 10 pips up. So what's the first thing I'm automatically going to do? I'm actually going to, about 2 pips above this, I'm pulling in my stop loss. So I already just increased my risk-reward ratio to better than it is. I'm using the swing highs and swing lows to set my take profit and stop loss. What that also means when you're scalping, you can go outside of your lot size. So if you're saying I want to lose 10 pips and it's 0.35, if let's say my swing high was up here and I wanted to get in this trade, what I'd have to do is measure it, and that's 18.7. Then we'd go into the indicators list, and we would adjust it, because then we'll say I'm wanting to take a 20 pip stop loss. So we'd hit OK, and now it dropped us to 0.18. So we would have to adjust our trade size before we get in. So I'd drop it down to 0.15. So do we kind of see how we adjust depending? 10 pips for me is a good balance, because typically my swing high and swing low is within 10 pips, and then I can pull it in. But if you're using a different type of system, let's say you're trading on the 5-minute, 15-minute, 1 hour, 10 pips isn't going to get you shit. You're going to have to learn how to adjust it to where your stop loss is. So you always want to be aware of where you're planning on putting your stop loss, measure how many pips it is, dump it into the lot size calculator, and it will tell you your lot size to stay within your money management. Does that make sense to everyone? On how to calculate based on your stop loss, it'll calculate your lot size for you. So the only problem is the little fucker's flashing as soon as I start to take a trade. So if we look here, I already know what it is, but so let's say I wanted to get into here. What do? I measure back. So this is 9.5 pips. So that's barely doable on a 10 pip stop loss. So I could go ahead and take the trade here if I wanted to, but it would be pushing it. That's only a 1-to-1 risk-reward ratio. Next one, let's say we got in, we wanted to get in this trade moving upward when it crossed and qualified up. So this candle here, we would measure down. It's about 10 pips. So you see how the 10 pips for me kind of works out. But if we were taking, let's say here, 16 pips. So what do we need to do? We'd go into the indicators, and we'd say we're going to be taking a 15 pip stop loss at risk percentage of 2, and close. That gives us 0.24. So that adjusts our stop loss and our trade size, so they're working together. You can't have a static you cannot have a static take profit stop loss. This one should close here in a second. I'm on demo on this, so I can show everything nice and easy. The other thing we need to take into account, and I'm trying to get it before it here. Let me see if I can move it. I'd already hit it. You see how it closed here, but price is all the way down here? You need to take into account the spread. So if you're putting it below a swing high and swing low, and I think I showed this in a couple diagrams about a week or two ago with dealing with the spread, we need to make sure that the stop loss or take profit, since we're looking at about, it was about 1.5 pips above it. So we would put our let's say we put a stop loss down here. It would actually be where where this green line is here now. So you need to take account the spread too, because let's say you're saying I'm going to do 10 pips. So if you're not planning on pulling it in, or basically you're running the 10, you might want to adjust your pricing for 12. I know it's only 2 pips and it's not going to affect it very much, but on the long-term side of things, you definitely want to be as accurate as possible. And like I said, after a while, I know I adjust my trade size up and down a tiny bit, because you'll just get the feel for this. You won't have to do it, but for now, stick to doing it by the book till you get the feel for it, and then you can kind of eyeball it. I know that sounds bad, but I mean, it is what it is, because eventually you do just get the feel for it. Oh, sorry, I'm trying to drink coffee. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about news and how to do with that. Does everyone first get on how to use it with scalping? How you adjust your trade size depending on your stop loss. It's a little bit easier with scalping. I think it's actually easier with both. It's the same principle. Yes, no, if there's no questions, we'll move on. If there are questions, I'll come back to it. So let's take a look, and I believe this will be a good one. I'd held it right here. Okay, so for news trading then, news trading is going to be a little bit different, because this is our stop loss. Now, if you're using your spreadsheet, you should be able to go back in and see what your average loss is. And it shouldn't be that bad. I mean, NFP is going to, of course, be the exception to the rule, plus with the spread variations. But you should be able to see how many pips you're losing on average. And that's going to basically set up your determination. So let's get this open. So let's say you look at your spreadsheet and your average loss is 12 pips. Any clue what we're going to do with this number? And you're trading 2.5%. What do we do with all this mumbo jumbo? You're going to throw it into your indicator. And again, with the news, it's a little more difficult, and I would stay on the safe side of it. So instead of doing 2.5, you might want to do 2, because sometimes it's going to be over, sometimes it's going to be under. What is the cat doing? Oh, he's going to lay on my daughter's desk. Okay, so stop loss is 12.5, 2.5. You punch this in, and close. And it did it 3% risk. So like I said, I'd probably do 2%. I'll have to change that so it can do... I didn't know it didn't do the... We'll do a 2%. 0.29. So you now know that 0.29 is about what size trade that the EA is going to use. Now, did you have to do all that work? No, the EA is going to do it all for you. But it's good to know. So you have ahead of time what you can plan on. And you know what your risk is for each trade. Give me a second. I had a question. Should I close the other window? Okay. I'm trying to think. I'm reading a question. I'll get with you in private on that one. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so let's take a look at the news indicator then, because this is basically what y'all have been waiting for. Okay, so in order for the news indicator to use money management has to be set to true. Risk percentage goes here. Again, stay on the cautious side of things with this. Now, if we do true and risk percentage 2, it actually doesn't turn on. Up top, what we have to do is take profit and stop loss in order to kick it in. Now, this is where you're going to have to play around a little bit because it is not perfect. Because let's say we did a stop loss of 12.5. Well, 12, it doesn't let me do it, so it'd have to be 13. And I highly recommend, guys, that you go back to demo for the first couple trades when you're putting in a stop loss. I'm going to try and explain it as best I can. And I think I might... Did I record it? I don't know. Oh, yes, I did record it, so cool. Let's go look at it. Sorry, I'm all over the place, I know. Okay, so I did record this. So what we're going to do is watch what happens when we use a take profit and stop loss, and then I'll try and explain this slowly. Do you want to download it now? Okay, so we're going to watch a trade. And this should pop up here in 4 seconds, and I'm going to pause it. And this was a dud from yesterday. Bam. Okay, so look where... Here's the stop loss, and here's the take profit. The issue we run into is if, when you're news trading, and this is mainly going to be with like NFP, and I'm sure Robin's already brought up the point, is if you get one tick that pops this thing, I don't know, 50 pips up, it's going to trigger the buy stop, and then let's say it drops back down, and it's going to trigger your stop loss right away, and you are going to take your maximum. If it wasn't there, the trade would actually run. This is kind of hard and difficult because you have to actually see it in motion to see what happens. But you just want to be careful with your stop loss that they're not too tight. It's the same as the straddle. I do recommend, guys, run it on demo a couple times so you can see exactly what happens and watch the trade. I will record a couple. Next week I'll record NFP so we can see what happens on it. But without the stop loss in there, it won't kick in. Now, the stop loss is just an arbitrary thing, but this is if it pops before pending is what I'm worried about here. So if it pops before the news actually hits is what we're worried about. So if your straddle's too tight, we're going to take that maximum stop loss. Now, once the news trade pops in and kicks, this stop loss no longer becomes relevant, because the EMA is going to take over as almost immediately. This will take over and grab the stop loss. So it's not a big deal. It's just the initial one. You have to be prepared that if this thing pops before the news event, like was it 2 months ago, NFP did that 70 pip jump 30 seconds before the news release, we would have been in some serious shit there, because you would have lost your full stop loss, which would have been 12 pips, 20 pips, 30 pips, fuck, even 40 pips. So what I'm trying to say is, on NFP, you might want to consider not using it and just setting a manual size in there. But then the problem is if it pops open, well, no, it'll be fine. I would recommend for NFP putting in your trade size manually, not using the trailing stop or a stop loss. Honestly, for the most part, I prefer to enter my trade size manually and not let the EA do it, but some people are going to want to use the EA, so we wanted to talk about money management. I also wanted to show the money management in regards to pips and how to figure it out, because even if you're punching the trade size in there manually, you need to be able to figure it out of what to put in there. I know this is a little bit jumbled because I'm going back and forth, but if you want to use the EA, it's fine. You can pop in the stop loss, make sure money management set to true, and that will kick it in. But be aware then you are, if you get like the pre-news jitters that are huge, like on NFP, you're taking a chance of increasing your loss. Now, when I first started trading news, that's what was killing me. When I switched to the moving average, yeah, I might not pull as many pips, but my loss size was greatly reduced. And unfortunately, without a stop loss in there first, there's no way of the EA automatically adjusting. What I highly recommend doing, and I know this is probably what a lot of y'all wanted to hear, is manually setting up your trade size in here. It just, in the long run, it works out better, because then everything relies on this trail. And it will keep your losses smaller. If by accident a trade pops, this is still going to take care of it. Like I said, you can give it a try, but I would do it on demo. Don't get stupid and do it on live. But I highly recommend just figuring it out manually. And again, like I said, you can look through your spreadsheet, figure out what your average size of loss was, and then 2% of your trade, figure out what your lot size needs to be, and punch it in manually. When you again, because if you're using the EA too heavily, I'm a big believer in. The reason this works is because y'all are using your minds to set this up. I mean, not to be an idiot, but a lot of people have like a news EA that does everything for you, and it doesn't work. This one, every day, you have to use your head to set it up. You have to just review your spreads, you review your slippage, and if something's off or not there, you know to troubleshoot. Let's say your spread's super high, and I don't know, like the NZD USD trade that someone did. All they had to do is ask, and EA isn't going to give you that information that the spread was high. Well, the REA does, but other ones don't, and that's why people lose, because they don't have the data to back up what's going on. So yes, you can use it, but I highly recommend not doing it. The second thing, if you have questions on that, go ahead and let me know. The second thing we're going to be talking about is this. Now, did y'all want me to hand this one out to you first, so that you can follow along with me on what to do? Because we're going to do a little bit of coding. Not really coding, but we're going to be changing words, I guess you could say. Let me go ahead and get it for you. And I'm going to show how to install it to scripts. Let's start up Dropbox. Wait till Dropbox starts up, then I'll get this for you, and then we'll walk you through the install of it, and we'll walk you through a little bit of editing it. Ooh, sorry, I'm yawning. really gotta go tinkle. Okay, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take a quick break, go to the bathroom, and by the time I come back, Dropbox will be loaded up and everything will be there. So take a quick break, and we come back. We're gonna look at how to edit this to make it do what you want. We're gonna show what it does by default, and then we're gonna take a look at what we can do with it. Okay? So 5-minute break, so I can go piss, and we will walk through the script, not indicator, script, on how to install, how to edit it. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm back. Let's get this set up then so we can do it. Okay, so Dropbox. And we will need this. We're going to copy. Notice how this says MQL4 source file. I'm going to copy that to Dropbox real quick. Paste. And now we can close this. and let me link it. I'm going to put it here, and I'll put it in Slack. Okay, so I'm going to give you a minute to get ready on that one, and then what we're going to do is go to File and Open Data Folder. My cat's just staring out the window again because I have it open because it's actually nice out. He's going nuts for the birds. Okay, so it's File, Open Data Folder, MQL4, and then again, this is scripts. This is not an indicator. Mine's already here, but then is what you're going to do is drag and drop it from Dropbox to here, or download it and then drag it into here. Okay, so one more time, File, Open Data Folder, MQL4, Scripts. Drag and drop that script into here. Now there's two things you can do from here. If you don't want to close MT4, just go to Indicators, find any indicator with a yellow dot by it, right click it, do Modify. Give it a second, a window's going to pop up. This is Meta Editor. This is where we're going to be editing a script, editing the script. So all you're going to do then is click Compile. Now down here at the bottom, it should say 0 errors, 0 warnings, compile time 1398. If it has a warning, that's fine. It's still going to compile everything. And what that did was it'll refresh and the script will appear in the scripts folder. Okay, so the next thing we're going to need to do, we can right click this and we're going to set hotkey. You can pick whatever you want here. You click set and it's Alt, and we'll do Alt O and set and close. So let's see what this thing does by default. So if we hit Alt O, it pops up to this screen. Now all this is in here and you're going to be able to go through it. I'm only going to really show you one thing. We hit OK and we are off. Let's go back and look. I believe there's a trade. So this was the trade and what it did. A solid line, a red arrow, which means a sell was opened, solid line down. It has no other information on it by default. Now let's do it again, but we'll make one change. See, it says display text. We're going to make it true. And then if we hit OK, now it has all the information on there about the trade. So if you don't want the information on there, that's fine. If you do, that's fine. But let's take a look. Let's say we don't want to have to go in there and mark true every time. We're going to right click and we're going to do a modify. And then we're going to cover a couple of the rules when we're coding. I'm going to make it big so we can go. Now if we go through, you can see this is all the notes of when it was built, of changes that were made, everything. And you can see there's quite a bit of them. This guy basically really did his everything on it. Okay, so let's go down. And what we're going to do is we're going to be in around line 533. So a couple rules when coding. Capitalization matters. Oh, give me a sec, I was yawning again. It's going to be one of those days. Yes. Sorry, it's importing a file. Okay, so we're going to be looking at line 533. It says external bool display text. That should sound familiar. All you have to do is click on it, double click it, it's going to highlight it, hit backspace, and then type in all lowercase true. Now it will always show it. Now why am I doing this instead of doing it for you? One, I thought it'd be cool to show you, and two, we can go through a couple other things. Next, and you can read through, it's self-explanatory in the description. That's why I kind of like this one, because it has everything in the description. Now we're going to click compile. No issues. That means we didn't fuck up and it should work. Let's say arrow size. So we didn't like that arrow size. It's too big. Let's do 1 and compile. Now let's take a look at what that did. See how the arrow size is smaller now? Let's go back to it and let's do a screw up. So true, and I'm going to put a Z at the end of that. We hit compile. It says undeclared identifier and something else. You can just, to undo a screw up, there's several ways to do it. Well, the easiest way is just to hit Control Z. Control Z means undo my last thing. Now if I hit it again, you see how it's going back and it's changing everything? It remembers to a point, but only if you still have the window open. So true, and I'm going to set that arrow size back to 1 because that's how I like it, and compile. And that's pretty much it, guys. I mean, I didn't want to get too complicated, but I did want you to be able to go in and read this and see if there's anything that you want to change, because the descriptions are all here. Remember, true and false has to be all lowercase. When you're coding, a capital letter makes a big difference. If you type in the word dog with a capital D, it means dog in coding words. But if you type in the word dog all lowercase, it could mean cat. It's really that important. If you screw it up, you can always go back to Dropbox and download it again, but these are just basic changes so that you can go through and add and remove things like you want. You can change colors here. I mean, it's all up to you what you want to do with it. You can make it your own, but I thought it'd be kind of cool to show a little bit of basics on coding. When you're done, all you do is hit X, and there it is. It's that simple, guys. So if we have questions or anything, I'll go ahead and keep going for a little bit. I want to kind of finish up early because I'm going to go cheat on my diet. But we set this up so that all you have to do is do Alt-O to drop it on there. You don't even have to, because normally what you'd have to do is drag it over. And if this wasn't open, you'd have to open up the window. But if we look now, it's true, and arrow size is 1. It's already typed in there for us. It did it all for us. And there's what it looks like with arrow size 1. Ugh. So do we have any questions on anything I covered today? Just to review, we went over a little bit on my phone's beeping. That's weird. Okay, sorry. Okay, so we went a little bit over on how to determine the proper lot size based off of your risk. Like if you're using a swing high, 13 pip indicator list, we go in and we type in 13 at 2%, and it would show us the correct lot size. Let me link this indicator. I forgot about it. Lot size calc. Okay, so file, open data folder. Give me a second and I'll link this one up to you also. Almost forgot. Hello. I'm going to give you the source file for this one too. Copy. Dropbox. Paste. Give me a sec while it refreshes so that it's there. There it is. Copy Dropbox link. And there we go. So I posted it in my chat room, and in this one I'll put it also in the description. Let's see, the first one is script. Yeah, I can't type. Second one is lot size. Again, guys, it's good to do it by hand, but that lot size calculator will help out a lot, and you just need to update it because it can't guess what size trade you're going to do. Okay, so I put those in the description of the video, so if you're watching, you can just get them from there. Other than that, I mean, it wasn't anything catastrophic or killer today. pretty simple in my opinion. It will be, like I said, as you do this, you'll get the hang of it and you can kind of just wing it. I definitely use this almost every day, though, to adjust so I know what I'm doing, because it keeps me more spot on with what my trade size should be. When you're trading on a larger account, one pip stop loss makes a big difference on your trade size. But if we don't have any questions, guys, that's pretty much going to sum it up for today. I mean, I really don't have too much else to go through. We can take a look at charts real quick, just for the hell of it. But I'm going to be done in about 30 minutes and I have to shower so I can get dressed. Does anyone have questions on TAPFX? We talked briefly this week about re-entry and initial entry. Any questions on that? Now you should know from initial entry how to figure out your correct lot sizes. Trying to think if there's anything else we missed for this week. Next week is NFP. So we are going to go through the whole thing again because we have some new people in the news group. So we're going to do our dry run of NFP. We're going to talk about NFP, the dangers of trading it. I mean, last month I think the majority of everyone did pretty well with it. So it wasn't that great of an NFP. We still haven't had one like 2 months ago where it was just brutal 30 seconds before. Again, guys, if you're trading NFP and you're not sure about it, drop to demo. It does not hurt to drop to demo until you get a good feel for it. I know that, if it does it great, then you might land 60 to 100 pips, but if it doesn't, you're still going to lose, so. Oh my god, almost coughed. I'm choking on water, that's... Okay, so if it doesn't look like there's any questions, I'll give it one more minute, see if any questions pop up. Let me check Skype. I forgot to have it open for this. Because some people haven't accepted their invitations to the Slack room. No names. Alright, and no questions on Skype either. So that's going to wrap it up for the day, guys. If you do have questions, you can hit me up through email, Skype, or if you're in the Slack room, go ahead and ask me in Slack. But have a good weekend, everyone. I get to build a volcano. I'm fucking super excited, actually, because it's my daughter's science project. But enjoy. If you have questions on this, like I said, review the video, then hit me up. All the indicators are linked. The indicator in the script is linked in the description. Thanks a lot, and you'll have a good weekend.